Hello folks, I'm Ken Harris and we're going to do a little Asian type scene. The main brush is about 1.5 centimetres wide. I have a little detail brush, a little flat synthetic brush, small knife and a small fan brush. The colours I'm using are Viridian green, olive green, Prussian blue, spectrum red, burnt sienna, yellow green. This is Australian red gold, very similar to burnt sienna, yellow ochre, Payne's grey, chrome orange and burnt umber. I may or may not use all of those, but the horizon line is roughly a third of the way up the board. We've got a little road runs around here, a double roof type building here, and I'm going to start off with a little bit of blue, Prussian blue and white, and run the sky in. However, there is a very high percentage of pink in the sky, and incidentally I have covered the board with a little bit of medium. Going to run that in there like so. Now it'll be a very open sort of sky, so that we can get quite a considerable amount of this pink in quite easily. That's about all we need for the time being. I'm going to wash the brush and we'll go to the pink, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit of orange with it to swing it slightly towards a little bit of this spectrum red. The spectrum red's a lovely colour, and I'm going to pick up just a speck of orange and add to it. And just take a little more white there. That should be satisfactory. I'm going to wash the brush. Be very careful to always squeeze the terps out of the brush every time you wash it. And I'm going to run this pink in the lower sky here, creep it up and run right up here into this upper sky, and we can form some clouds here with the pink. You'll notice that when I overlap the blue a little bit, I'm picking up a bit of the blue. That doesn't matter at all. Now, there's going to be a rather big bush in here, but I'm going to just put a very, very thin coat of pink underneath it, also through that building there. And you'll find that the paint goes on a lot easier if you do that. A little bit more pink up there, a few little spots around there. And we can now form some of that into clouds if you want to. You can leave it just as it is if you feel you'd like to do that. That's not a problem. You can join a few of these little outcrops of pink up and get a little bit of a windswept effect on the top of some of them if you want to. And the main thing is to cover all the board. That's the important bit. A little bit of pink in there. And that's about all we need. Very rough, and that's perfect. Now, I'll just run that down to that hill there. There's a little hill there. I have a little bit of blue that has got a tiny bit of red in it, and I'm going to use that to run this bit of a hill in here. We don't want this hill coming across as a primary subject within the painting. It's only a minor secondary issue with it, really more or less as a filler within the painting. A lot of people get very upset, a lot of students in my workshops, and you should come along to one of the workshops. They get very concerned if they don't get the colour really pure and clean on the board. totally unnecessary. You'll find that it will look a lot better if you have a bit of variation in the colour. Don't worry if you've got a little bit of cross-contamination. Cross-contamination in some cases can be a huge benefit to you. You should come along to one of my workshops. I have one in, I'll be having one in Perth next year, and another one in Melbourne, another one in Sydney. Go to my website, Ken Harris Art School, and have a look at that. That's the ideal way to sort it all out. Now I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna and a bit of white. Burnt sienna and white, I think, are a wonderful combination. They look great. I hope you can see that. Don't mix up too much. I'm not going to wash the brush this time. I'm just going to wipe it, and I'm going to run in a little bit of ground around this road here. Just sneak a little bit of this in. I will darken it up considerably later on. The whole board moved then, but that's half the fun of painting on this type of easel. It's not bolted down, and the board is not bolted down, and it does move a fraction every now and again, but that's certainly not a problem. Just gently work in under this building here, and the ground in the distance over here, this is actually a field over here. It's a green with a tiny bit of white added, and I'm going to sneak along under here with that, under the horizon line, and I'm going to run some bushes along underneath that hill. But the road itself could be just brought up a little bit, and we could use a little bit of this pink with a tiny bit of white. It's just a little bit too dark, that pink. I have to wash the brush now that it's got green on it, although the green was very pale and the pink is pale. The green would absolutely kill the pink if we tried to put it on. So I'm going to run that bit of pink in here, keep the path very pale until you get around here, and then I'm going to start at the foreground here and darken up that little road and pick up a little bit of that pink and just let the pink run away to nothing. It had a little bit of burnt sienna on the brush, then I picked up a bit of pink, and you get a wonderful gradation from the dark to the light. You don't want it any better than that. However, you can make the path look, or the road, the track, whatever it might be, you can make it look much rougher by simply getting a little knife like this, overlap each mark that you put on the board. And the reason I say that is because we don't want a set of diamond-shaped marks like that on the board. But by overlapping those little diamond-shaped marks and slightly moving the knife on the surface of the board, you totally eliminate that problem. Now, don't go and pick up too much paint, because you want this gradating away as well. So just persevere with it and work back up the little track and get rid of whatever paint might be on the knife. And you can get quite dark in the foreground. It certainly doesn't look as if it's been done with a knife, but obviously it has. And that gives a much better effect when you get it nice and dark in the foreground. But I'm also going to run some really nice dark grass in around here and shape the road with the grass rather than shape the road with this pinkish paint. We're only just getting the basics in here, and then we'll shape it properly with the surrounding bits of vegetation. I'm going to pick up that orange and the pinks over to the side, and I'm going to take a little bit of green, this Viridian green, and a little white. We need just a tiny bit more than that. And I'm going to take just a little bit of that and mix just a speck of Payne's Grey with it. Shade it a bit, and I'm going to run it up just a tiny bit more. I'm going to run it up behind that house. Now here again we need to wash the brush because that burnt sienna on there would kill that green. Also I think it's got a little bit of white in it, so that would really get the green. Green, if you put too much white with it, it will kill the colour very, very quickly. Now we need to run this darkish green in here, but we can make it darker than that, and we will. We need to creep around this house with that colour, run along just under the house as well, but here again we need to get it darker eventually. But we're going to go to a break and in a few seconds, and when we come back from that break we'll finish this off completely. I'm going to go to this light green here now and run that away down the other side of the house, but we'll complete that when we come back from the break. So have all your brushes and knives and everything ready, and in the meantime you can look up my website, Ken Harris Art School, on your computer and book in for the next workshop. Thank you. Bye.